Seeing none, I'm going to close public input. Agenda review.
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? We do need to have a non-public at the end, correct? Under,
Yeah, 91A326,
so 91A223.
matters which if discussed in public would likely affect the person's reputation and person.
Okay, 91A326. Do I have a second? Do I need a second for that?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes. Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll move to approve the minutes of September 6th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kathy.
Yep.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Stay.
Abstain. We've got a few people to abstain, huh? Terry, Steve, and Eunice, and Kathy.
I wasn't here?
Right, no? No.
Oh, that's right. I was there. I'm here now.
We noticed.
I rescind that.
Okay. Superintendent's communication?
Well, I'm going to defer to the principal for just a second so he can introduce our student rep.
Okay.
All right. I'd like to introduce senior Kate Beam, who is our new student rep to the school board. Kate is, like I said, a senior. She is one of our top school leaders. She is currently president of the senior class, vice president of National Honor Society, a member of Tri-M Honor Society, member of student council, and recently over the summer, she's our first student to ever attend what's called Girls Nation. She spent a week down in DC serving as a senator, participating in bills and resolutions, on trials.
Congratulations.
A lot of cool experiences, and so pleased to have her aboard.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now back to you.
Back to me. I only have one thing to report. We had over 100 juniors and seniors today that signed up to attend the University of New Hampshire College Fair. And they were a little late getting there, but I think they had a pretty good experience. They were there and had an opportunity to meet with some of the other schools to see.
Oh, and that occurred today?
That occurred today,
Yeah,
yes.
at UNH?
Yes.
Over to Jay.
All right. I'm going to throw it over to Kate and let her go, so she can bring you up to speed on things happening around the building from a student perspective.
All right, so I'll start with our sports teams. All of our sports teams who played for our homecoming games this past Friday and Saturday, I believe they all won their games. All of our teams so far either have like a tied season where they're same losses, same wins, or they're winning. So this past weekend we had our fall festival dance, also kind of our homecoming dance. We decided to call it Fall Festival because we don't have a football team, but we wanted to be able to get the community more involved, and we were initially going to do it this next weekend, but due to it being Columbus Day weekend, we ended up having to move it to this past weekend and cutting out the activities during the day. But we had a very successful dance. We had over 200 tickets sold, so almost half of our school attended the dance. NHS currently is working on their annual Haunted Halls event, and this year they're partnering up with Tri-M to have more people involved and hopefully have an even better event. We're also working on our Trick or Treat Night, which is going to be October 27th for just small kids in the area. And then we also started up our tutoring program this week. And we'll also be having our new members, they'll be notified that they have become part of NHS this Thursday. Tri-M is working on Haunted Halls as well as Senior Tea, where they perform music and put on a tea for elderly in the community. They don't have a date for that yet. In addition to that, band and chorus both have events in the next coming weeks. Chorus will be having Voices of the 603 on Friday, And band will be having the Dover Band Show, I believe on the 16th. And then the last thing I have to go over is a senior class. We're working on our class trip, hopefully to Ocean City, New Jersey. We will have more information for you and hopefully propose it to you for approval for the next meeting. For prom, we've already booked at Oaks and Somersworth, and we're gonna have that on May 20th. And then last, we are having a spaghetti supper on the 18th of this month. So that's all I have.
Busy, busy, thank you.
You're up.
Oh, not much left. Just kidding. Everything's been going well since the last meeting. We've had Chromebook implementation, and the rollout of that actually went very, very smoothly. We did it through the freshman seminar program. We have had, it's been a multifaceted approach to this freshman seminar. We've had the librarian, Kathy Fraser, in there, Chris Reeves, the technology integrator, in there quite often. And so there's a lot of adjustments in kids having these devices. All signs point to them being useful and effective at this point, but it's still a little bit too early to tell. But I know the kids are appreciating them, and for the most part, taking care of them. We've had 2 cracked screens so far. Already. And I was actually just inquiring about that today. I will first say that the screens were replaced by TSI students. Now, TSI, Technical Support Internship. This is a course that we're running where students are learning how to fix these devices. So both of these devices that came down to have screens replaced were fixed by students. And these are students who specifically signed up for this course with the purpose of someday going into this field once they leave here.
Is that the new course?
It is.
I thought so.
Yep. TSI for sure. So if you hear me refer to it, it's Tech Support Internship. But interestingly enough, when I asked how did those screens break, both of them were because they were jammed into an overly stuffed book bag. Not that they were dropped or stepped on. It was, you've seen them. A lot of the kids carry around 40 pounds of stuff in their backpack. We don't hand out 40 pounds worth of books. So I don't know what's in the backpack, but both screens were damaged as a result of being crammed in. I want to mention that last Friday we had what I refer to as our end of the month assembly, and something that I'm hoping to do at the end of each month this year, where we just recognize some of the positive things that are going around in the school. One of the most positive things that I did mention in front of the faculty, staff, student body is that we had one of our students, senior Tabitha Kelly. She was recently awarded a letter of commendation for her performance on the PSATs back in 2015. So the students who take the PSATs, they can qualify to become National Merit Scholars based on their score. So in 2015, 1.6 million students across the country took the PSATs, and Tabitha ranked in the top 50,000 of those students. So it's quite the honor. We've only had a few kids over the years actually achieve that. We were able to present her and embarrass her in front of the entire school with some recognition. Lastly, one of the things that we're trying new this year is the not producing a monthly newsletter. And in place of it, I have been updating almost on a daily basis the school's website. So if you have not already, if you don't have Twitter and you're not following me, I would encourage you to open one up just for the sake of knowing what's going on within the school. But if you don't want to do that, and I understand, because to a degree I didn't want to do that, you can go to the school's website, and right on the front page of the website is my active Twitter feed. So you can click on that and you can scroll back through and you can see kind of real-time updates of things that are going on within the school. If you scroll down a couple of weeks ago, one of the cool things that we had, I had the opportunity to attend a colloquium at UNH, an academic conference, where 3 of our teachers here, Mrs. Weidelman, Mrs. Spiller, who teach English, and then Mrs. Fraser, who is the library media specialist, presented. They were part of 2 separate groups who were presenting. They've been working with professors at UNH regarding writing and research. And they've been working with a couple of other teachers, professionals from surrounding schools as far down Seacoast as Exeter. And we were certainly the furthest school in the Lakes region. So, kudos to Mrs. Vitalman, Spiller, and Mrs. Frazier for their work. But if you wanted to read a little bit more about what they did in their presentation, again, I would encourage you to go to the website, get in the habit of once a week going to the website and seeing what's going on. Calendar is there as well. It's updated on a regular basis, on a daily basis, so you can see everything that's going on. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Just have a comment. I had the opportunity to look at the bulletin board at the entranceway with all the teachers.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of
It
nice.
puts a face to the names that I don't see all the time, but
Yeah.
I recognize the names and how I see them.
Yeah, we actually conducted a social experiment for the first couple of weeks of school. Oh, what's the matter? Senior president's gonna hide her head now. I put up a blank board and on all four, and I wrote, the class of 2020, class of 2019, and then I put a set of markers there and didn't say anything to anybody just to see what would happen. And so students slowly started to write things on it. And for the most part, they self-regulated very well. It was very impressive. They had opportunity to write anything they wanted at any point in the day under no supervision. We didn't have one curse word written on there.
Oh, good.
We didn't have any particular insults directed at any person, adult or student in the building. And ironically, the kids used it primarily to write their Snapchat names and their Instagram names on the board. So they went back to the old traditional way of telling people to follow him in the more progressive, modern way. So
That's good.
yeah,
That's progress.
so
Okay, good. Is that it?
that's it.
All righty. Next up is information action items. Finance Committee.
Yes, Finance Committee met tonight prior to this meeting, and we have a few action items for the board. So we did receive the first draft of the 17-18 budget tonight, and we'll continue our meetings on that. First up, we need the board's approval to receive a REAP grant in the amount of $42,928, which would be used towards phone system upgrades and building security. And that would be primarily at the main entrance and the front office. So I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who moved that
Passes.
one?
Pardon me?
Who moved it?
I moved it.
Diane.
Okay, we also reviewed the snowplow bid tonight. We had 3 bidders. Jungle Gym, R&K Landscaping, and Alton Excavation / PDK Cottages. And the Finance Committee made a motion to recommend to the full board the Alton Excavation PDK Cottages at $34,890, with an additional $4,910 for straight saws.
And they were the low bid.
Correct. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Okay, and then I have 2 budget transfers. The first one, we need to do a transfer from function 1100 to 1200 in the amount of $81,297. And that's just to correct where a teacher was placed during budgeting season. One special education teacher was inadvertently listed in 1100.
So I'll make a motion that we do that transfer.
Second. And that's from 1100 operating to 1200.
To 1,200 in the
Right.
amount of $81,297.
81,000.
81,297.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We also have another one, which is moving $1,480 from co-curricular, which is $1,410, to athletics of $1,420, and that's for the bass fishing team. And that.
Coaches.
That's
For the coaches.
Coaches.
for the coaches. There's 2 stipends at $600, and then additional the FICA and all that good stuff.
So I
And,
make,
it was explained to us that the $600 stipend is primarily used to cover pocket expenses for the coaches.
so I make a motion that we transfer our $1,480 from the 1410 to the 1420 account.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Well, I can still talk and I'm on a roll. Can I do the 3M? We need to, 3M is making a donation to Prospect Mountain, and the value that Heidi has put on that is $3,038. So I'll need a motion to be able to accept that donation.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
That's all I know.
That's it. Okay. Say that again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, me.
Well, we're gonna go,
No, I have one more thing. Thank you for reminding me. Annually, we are required to, hold on. We're required to approve a policy, an investment policy, policy GFA. This is unchanged from prior years, but it is a requirement that we approve it every year. So I will need a motion to.
so moved, that we'll
Second.
accept DFA. Any discussion?
D is in dog.
D as in dog, F.
Sorry, do the best I can.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, now we go on to Diane for Buildings and Grounds Committee update.
Yes, we met on September 15th and discussed the roof status update, still on schedule at this point to be completed by beginning of November, or are we?
That's what we're still
Okay.
looking at, yes.
We also discussed the lighting upgrades that was brought before the board to go to the, is it LED lights in town?
In certain areas of the building.
In
he's
certain
getting-
areas of the
he's
school,
getting
so he's getting
electrical
quotes
prices.
from the electricians. Jay has recommended that we discontinue use of time clocks, so our board recommended to bring it for discussion to the full board, and Jay can explain his reasonings for that.
Yeah, that's done under action items.
Do you want him to explain his reasons, so when we go into action items, we can just vote on it without having to? Yeah, you wanna talk about it?
Sure, whatever you.
Go ahead.
Good?
Yeah.
I would like to request that we discontinue the use of time clocks. And I reflect back, and I do it every morning, actually, when I stand by the front door and I watch people wait, and I watch some people come back out of the building. And I understand the reasons that we put the time clock in place to begin with. It was a logical, emotional reaction to a problem that you guys had identified, justifiably so. But a lot has changed since then, and at this point, having the time clock it seems like it continues to be a punitive consequence for a mistake that has been long since corrected. The management that were in charge of the department that were making the most mistakes is gone. There's great oversight now within that department. 5 of the 6 custodians are no longer employed here. All of our paraprofessionals, with the exception of 2, are new, and our office workers, 4 of the 6, are new, who were not part of anything from years ago when the clock first went in. So these folks are now subject to the consequences of the actions of some who no longer even work here. So I would like to see it go away. I think it's become an inconvenience and a disruption of productivity for a lot of those folks. They are very particular in when they have to sign in and where they have to sign in from. We've had problems with the time clock in the consistency of the reliability of it from the technical standpoint. And so we invest a lot of time and resources into managing the time clock. And I think it far outweighs, the cons far outweigh the pros in the sense of its use. And I'll give you an example. My paraprofessionals, for example, there are the kids that need one-to-one para-help are in the building when their bus drops them off, some of them as early as 7:20. And these paraprofessionals stand by the time clock until 7:45 when they punch in. Ordinarily, these people would come in and work with these kids right from the get-go. And they work with these kids long after they're supposed to. Or that they need to, I guess I should say. But they're bound to the time clock to get there at a certain time to punch in and to get there at a certain time to sign out. And while I recognize the need for it, from the business standpoint, I just think from the morale and cultural standpoint that it's not necessarily needed. I think the oversight from all of the supervisors is good and it's solid. So I request that we discontinue the use of it. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about it.
So any questions about this, about discontinuing the time clock?
So if we didn't discontinue the time clock, then we would still do the time clock.
Correct, yeah.
Kathy?
Well, I'm just wondering about the legality of, like, the IEP for the parents that come in they have to punch in at 7:15, and the children might get here at 7:30. So if their IEP says they're supposed to have I don't know how many have one-to-ones, but I'm just saying, does the IEP coincide with when they actually get the one-to-one? Because that could be a legal issue.
Their contracts should be the same as their one-on-ones.
The problem is that you don't necessarily have that consistency. With one-on-ones, if there are people that have been following the student from the get-go, then that's certainly a possibility. So it is not written into anybody's IEP that starting at 8:05 they're going to have a one-to-one. It's kind of an unwritten rule.
I agree with getting rid of the clocks at this point, but I also think that if you are expecting or want somebody to be at the bus at 7:15 or 7:30 or 7:20 or whenever it comes in, they should be getting paid at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be aware of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a labor cost. They have
Yeah.
to be paid for time work.
Right.
I guess I'm wondering why students would arrive at 7:20. A
That's-
student that needed supervision.
They arrive on a bus. Many of our kids
So they
arrive.
ride on a bus full of kids, so do they need one-on-one supervision when they get here? Like, I'm just asking.
In some cases, yes, they definitely do. I'll give you a more specific example. I have one paraprofessional who waits by the door for a bus to arrive with a student who needs assistance getting off the bus, getting physically into the building and down the hallway.
And I saw a student arrive this morning at 7:55.
Yep. Oh, and there are various students that at different times. Sometimes that bus sits out there and waits. They arrive earlier. Sometimes they arrive later, depending on the student's ability to get out of the house.
That parent should be paid for the time she starts. I think their time card should be reflected that. I don't know how difficult that would be for Heidi.
Well, it's their responsibility to fill out their time card,
Right.
and then the supervisor approves what they fill out, and
Right.
that's what I'll get to pay.
But I mean, could it end up somebody might have overtime? Is that?
I think it's a possibility. But much like a teacher, you put in the work that needs to get done in the
Right.
time frame that needs to get done. When there's someone who's over, and this is what happens now, if there's someone who's working over, the supervisor has either an idea of it and has approved it ahead of time, or after the fact gets an explanation that they go, okay, I support that.
Well, I mean, personally, I think that it should be marked on their card if they're working.
I would agree.
Instead of 20 on bus comps, and it should be this next. To encourage those supervisors to make sure that that's
Sure.
being covered.
I agree.
Otherwise, we end up with unions.
Any other discussion on this? So I guess we need a motion about what to do.
I'll move that we discontinue time cards,
Time clocks,
time clocks.
Second.
seconded by Diane. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
And that's all time clock.
Yes, kitchen, kitchen, custodial, paras, staff.
And we're leading into another segue of a J subject.
Oh, boy.
We discussed the potential for a ropes course using a grant that the Meredith Village Savings Bank has offered to the school. And we recommended that it would come before the full board for exploration purposes, and it would be dependent upon receiving the grant. So with that being said, I shall turn this over to Jay.
Okay. We were approached by Meredith Village Savings Bank about a health grant that they were offering. There were parameters that it had to be used for specifically something related to health and the betterment of kids. So I got together with the health teacher, Mr. Anthony, and we agreed to write the grant for a low levels ropes course that we would put outside, and ultimately it would be perhaps the beginning of something larger, but at the very least stands independently as something that PE health classes could utilize, as well as science classes, math classes, things of that sort. So we're not talking about anything high up in that would rely or that would need belaying of any sort. We're not cutting down trees or anything of that sort, but we would put something that would be considered a level 1 ropes course, and the grant is for $3,000. There's no guarantee. It's based on voting and a selection process. So if we were to get it, we would then look at the money that we would have available and then look at what we would be able to afford to put in.
Is there any other options to that money?
Well, we tossed around various ideas, such as buying equipment specific to health class, pedometers or new mannequins for CPR and things of that sort. But we kind of wanted to make it more universal and not just specific to a health class, which is how we got onto the path of doing something that would be outside that anybody can use, not just health students. So we did toss it around, but
It could be something that the feeder schools could send their kids up to use, like in the middle school or whatever, for instead of traveling to wherever else the ropes courses are, there'd be one right up here.
Yeah,
That's one of the discussions that we had.
yeah, depending on what we put in, and to be honest with you, I don't know what $3,000 gets you. I don't know if at some point in time we may say, well, let's kick in another $2,000 and make it a level 2. But a lot of the places that have ropes courses, some of our kids go over to the Brown Center at UNH and do theirs. It's a lot of places use it as a source of revenue. They charge businesses, local businesses, to come in and do team building and collaboration work and things of that sort. Now, that's looking down the road, and of course, again, really depending on what type of mechanisms we put in place.
So you said this was going to be outside. So
Yes.
is it going to be fenced in?
Typically, these things are not fenced in, but
Okay.
We looked into we contacted Primex to look into this very question and asked how they would treat this. Because it's a low-level course, it's treated like a playground.
Okay.
It's not high enough that people can fall off or, be hurt because they're going up into the trees in order to participate. These are all within a couple of feet of the ground. So Primex said it would be treated like a student playground.
Okay. So do you want to make a motion then?
Well, I think it's dependent
Oh,
upon
okay.
the grant, right? Jay?
Wait and see if we
Correct.
get the grant. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is
So
just
then if we get the
information.
grant, then you'll come back. Because you could change
Yes.
your mind and find something else that you might want to do with it. This is
Okay.
exploration at this point, correct?
right. Well, I don't know if we win if we win this, where we have to, because I think people are voting based on we do what
What
we
you're
say
gonna
we're going to
present.
do. So, yeah. But I mean, at this point, it's more of a have it in the back of your mind that this is what we've applied for and what could happen.
Well, we would have to accept the grant, correct?
Right.
So you'll have to come back.
Yeah.
Yes. And say we've won. I got us $3,000, and you
What
could
do we do
say
with it?
sorry.
Okay, anything else?
That was it.
I
Okay.
have a question for you. I was walking in tonight, I actually was admiring the roof, but the section, as you face the school, the section to the left that's been done, the lower level, there's a red device up where it meets the wall.
That, they haven't finished that end. They still have to put the cap on that end. That red device on the wall is an anchor strap for a safety harness.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what they use when they go over the other side, over the top.
Okay, Kathy?
Yes.
I was curious, there's a ladder out here.
Mhm.
Is that secured?
I don't know.
Because that doesn't seem real safe to even,
Yeah. I can ask Andy.
yeah.
Is that
I don't
inside the yellow tape?
Well, I mean, there's only little.
We can edit the ladder right there.
I thought there was a thing around that piece of equipment.
This one's out in the front of the building, right
Yeah.
near the stairwell. We have the stairwell blocked off from the inside. And there has been yellow tape up and around. Sometimes it gets knocked down or blown down, but I don't know. I
It
can
just
look
seems
into
like
it.
that ladder should be laying down.
Certainly.
Okay, Kathy?
Hi, policies. Let's see, so we have some in the packet, policy, the first one is policy EHAA, computer security, the email and internet communication.
Which one?
You want me to give a summary of these, Kathy, real quick? Would you like me to give a summary real fast?
No?
Basically, this latest batch of changes are the last and bring us up to date. We'll be completely up to date. This is this year's changes. And you'll see under action items, we'll have to vote on these later. Some of these, I'm just going to very briefly talk about what they are. EHAA, computer security, email and internet communication, is required by law. It is from the latest legislation. This is the new iteration, has to be added. So, we're going to have to do our reading tonight of that. The next one, GBJ and GBJR personnel records, are recommended by the New Hampshire School Boards Association. The policy committee is recommending that they be added as policies to our policies. GBK and IHBCA, staff concerns and complaints from pregnant students, are optional. It's up to the board to decide whether they would like to add these to our policies. These are completely optional. They were requested by another school district. Barrett Christina sent these out as samples. If we wanted to adopt them, we can. We don't see that they would be harmful, but we also don't see that they're necessary. So it would be up to the board to decide if they want to include those in the policies. The JCA, change of school or assignment, we've talked about before. This is replacement of current language due to legislative action. It used to be that the superintendent could make a determination about a change of school or assignment. If you'll recall, now the superintendent has to bring that information to the board, and the board has to make the final decision, with the exception of special education students who are placed through the IEP process. So that is required. It replaces our current language, so that has to be, this should be the final reading of that tonight. JICDD, student discipline out of school actions, is a recommended policy, and it's recommended by our policy committee to be included as well. JLCD, administering medication to students, one simple, very small change. Glucogen injections was added as a reference. That is the only change to this already existing policy.
Glucagon injections, it's on page 2.
Yeah, what is it, glucagon?
Glucagon.
Glucagon injections. That's the only change. And again, it's not changed in the wording or the body of the policy. It's only changed in the legal references. So that's a simple fix. It has to be changed because of the legal reference. So we recommend a final reading of that tonight. So when we get down to those in action items, those are, and that brings us all up to date. So until this next legislative session, and we start hearing next year what changes need to happen, we've completed the policy manual. All these many years, we've gone through all the policies and we're up to date. Hallelujah.
So now that you've discussed that, do we want to go on to
Well, we have to make motion to accept it.
to
The
vote
ones
on
that we
those?
want to
I just want to know from you if you would like to go on, because this is down on the action items, which you were under information items, so. So, okay, go back to page 16 then. And do you want to do the,
Okay.
Motion to
Do we
accept-
have a motion to accept
Do
policy?
you want me to sit there and just read them all?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we accept policy EHAA, computer security, email, and internet communications. Policy GBJ, personnel records. And policy GBJ-R, which is the procedure. Policy GBK, staff concerns and complaints. Policy IHBCA, pregnant students. Policy JCA, change of school or assignment. Hang on a second here.
and that should be
I have it
first and
twice.
final on that one. One is the old and one is the
Okay.
new.
Yeah.
Policy JICDD, which is student discipline out of school actions. Policy JLCD, administering medication to students. And that is all these are for final reading?
They can be first and
Yeah.
final.
Okay. Well, second
So-
and final.
So we have the motion from Diane. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Kathy. Any discussion on any of them?
Does the superintendent recommend all 7?
Yes, I mean, we had no problems with them, but those two GBK, the number 3 and number 4, you know, they were not harmful, they were also,
Do you want to carve them out, or do you?
no,
recommend
I
them?
think we can go ahead and put those in.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, anything else, Kathy?
Well, there's an IKA-R.
Right, but we're gonna go to Mr. Fitzpatrick for that one. Right?
Yeah. Can I do it now?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
IKAR, mentioned to a while ago, it's regarding midterm exams, or the grading procedures, I should say more specifically, but the part that I'm more concerned with is the examination pieces, midterm and final exams. Just to give you a background of what it currently looks like, we give, in our full year courses, we give a midterm exam during the 3rd week of January. During that week, we dismiss students from school early, around the 12:30 range, 12 o'clock, 12:30 range. Each day, Tuesday through Friday, we give 2 exams each day. At the end of the year, we run a very similar schedule. We take that last 4 days of school and we dismiss students early again and give them an exam. I've been examining this for a few years now, and I think it's an extraordinarily waste of time lost that could be used for instructional purposes. And so my initial thought was that I wanted to restructure what exams look like. And so I've met with teachers, I've met with my CIA leaders, curriculum instruction and assessment leaders, and I've asked them to talk with their departments as well. And they've all given me their feedback as to what they all value and appreciate. And collectively, we're not all on the same page. And here's what I mean. Math, social studies, and science really value being able to give an exam at the halfway point that is cumulative from day 1 to that point in the exam. And then for the second half of the year, they value giving an exam in June that encompasses everything they've done for the second half of the year. And I respect that. They've made some valid arguments as to why they feel that's necessary. However, my English department and all of my electives use a model similar to what we refer to as an authentic assessment model. So in English, for example, they do a final portfolio. And it's a collection of student work from throughout the year. And they have to go through it, they have to write reflections to the work that they have previously done, and they assemble a very stressful portfolio. Wood shop, bake shop, and the art studio, they're producing a product. Can you build a birdhouse or can you not? There's no sense in taking a written exam saying, what is the measurement of the birdhouse? They actually literally will have to build the birdhouse. So my electives in the English department would really like to go in the way of more of an authentic assessment that is valued more. So right now, midterm exams worth 10%, final exam is worth 10%. Collectively, they make up 20% of a student's final grade. So what I'd like to do is have that flexibility to continue to work with teachers and really address two major issues. One, giving the flexibility to teachers to give the exam during mid-curriculum, not necessarily the mid-calendar year. Because what we find now is that there are some courses that leave for Christmas break, and then they come back and they're here for about 2.5 weeks before midterm exams roll around. So some of them are lost during that 2 weeks. Do you start something new only to begin the exam 2 weeks from now, or do you spend 2 weeks reviewing everything that you've done? So it's that time in January when we come back from the new year is a little bit of a lost time. So I'd like to give people the flexibility to say, if you are mid-curriculum on December 22nd, then give your midterm exams on December 22nd. If you are mid-curriculum on February 2nd, then give your midterm exam or mid-curriculum exam on February 2nd. I don't want people pigeonholed to give it on a certain time that we have dictated by a calendar. In terms of how it's reported to the guidance office, we have always, from day one, we have given these exams the third week of January. Teachers run through to correct the exams, hardly ever giving them back to the students so the students can see what they did or did not know. That exam is corrected for the sole purpose of trying to get the grade in on time so that it can go on to a report card that is sent home at the end of second quarter that includes a midterm exam grade. Truth is, the midterm exam grades can be uploaded at any point. They can be uploaded on December 22nd. They can then be uploaded again on February 2nd. It doesn't matter. What matters is what is going to be on that final transcript at the end of the year, that there is a grade in there for mid-year exams. So flexibility piece number one is giving teachers the opportunity to give that exam when they see fit. And we would run a normal bell schedule that day. Teachers would give part one of their exam. If it's a longer exam, they'd give part one on, say, Tuesday, and then kids would come back to class on Wednesday and take part two. Gives teachers the flexibility to decide what's going to be part one, what's going to be part two. But some exams will spread over the course of 2 days. Okay? Yes?
Okay. I understand the reason, I really do. The only rat's nest I see is where some courses are weighted that the halfway point, let's say, is in February.
Mm-hmm.
Colleges are asking for certain content that they expect, whether it's on the SATs, the APs, or whatever,
Yep.
the equivalent SAT, AP, whatever that is. They expect it to be somewhat linear, especially when you're comparing one student to another. So if everything is extra weighted at the end, okay, as opposed to they expected that content to be taken early on so that they have a level playing field on the SATs,
Yeah.
okay, how does that affect the kids' chances of getting into college?
In terms of the standardized tests, the SATs, which are given in April, PSATs in October.
ACTs, is the ones that really meant the subject.
So the ACTs, and those kids can take those at any point in time. There are some kids who take the ACTs their junior year, halfway through their junior year, beginning of junior year, and then there are some who wait as long as they can into senior year. So in terms of your preparation, in terms of content, I don't think deferring a midterm exam by moving it up 2 weeks or moving it back 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I don't think there's a significant impact on ACT. I think the impact on the ACT is when you choose to take it in terms of how much experience you've gotten in a particular content level, junior, senior year.
Just playing the devil's advocate. if there's a, and I don't have this, I don't have a position one way or the other, but if the halfway point, you're forced to have a significant, more comprehensive amount of content knowledge at that point, and your upper echelon students are looking for early admittance and early acceptance. For that cohort, is there an issue?
No, because midterm exams, by the time they've come around, transcripts have been sent. And to be honest with you, I don't know if a lot of secondary schools put a lot of emphasis onto those exams.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first one is the flexibility of time and when we give them. The second one is to have a flexibility in their percentage weight of how they are weighted. Right now, like I said, it's 10% midterm, 10% final, 20% of a student's final grade. I'd like to give the flexibility to the English department to say, yes, you don't have to give a midterm exam. You can do a portfolio in June as a final and count it as your 20%. I'd like to say the same thing to any of my half-year electives, arts or metals shop or whatever it might be, to be able to say, don't worry about doing a midterm exam, concentrate on your final exam, and it can be 20% of your grade. So it will not be universal from English to math to social studies to science.
Any other questions?
Now, I'm happy to put this in writing, and so I don't have it in writing as it would be adjusted for the actual policy, but I'm happy to put that in writing to bring to the next policy committee meeting so that it can come back to you. But I certainly want to know how you feel about it, because I want to let the staff know sooner than later so that they can prepare.
So this would be for this year?
It would be for this year, come January.
Would it be possible to, for example, have someone from the English department come speak to the policy committee to give their reasonings?
Yeah, I mean,
Would that be something the policy committee would want to hear?
I mean, I can give you the reasoning, and basically what the reasoning is that how we teach English here, it is not, aside from us asking you to recall terms, vocabulary terms, or literary terms, an exam, we would be asking you to sit down and write something cold that we'll then take and correct and give you a grade for it, which is counterintuitive to how we teach writing here. We teach writing in the sense of produce something. Let us give you feedback and give it back to you and readjust it and produce it. So what it boils down to with English is that they will be more than happy if you say, no, you have to give a midterm. They will create some midterm that at the end of the day isn't really assessing anything but level 1 recall. You know, do you know what a noun is? Do you know what a verb is? Can you identify characterization? Their time can be much better spent working on the big picture. The final product is what it boils down to. Same thing in art. Think of it if you use art as the example. They don't care what your drawing looks like halfway done. They care what the final product looks like at the end.
Now, this would be for all courses, all grades.
Yes.
Any other questions? So you need a motion on this.
Well, a consensus, I suppose, to continue to pursue this, and then I'll come back at the next meeting with the write-up.
I support the concept of having that
Yes,
flexibility.
I do too. So who else supports the concept? Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you have questions, if something pops in your head after we leave, please email Sharon or email me and let me elaborate the best I can.
Which one? Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Something that we missed was the policy in buildings and grounds meeting times. And Bob had something to say.
Just very quickly, we have a difficult time holding these meetings because of lack of participation, because everybody's got busy schedules. People are now working. I've had requests from some people who were on the committees, could we change the times of the meetings because it's interfering with work schedules that have changed. So the reason I brought this to the entire board was this is the only time I really get an opportunity to see all the people that are on these committees, because, you know, we've had committee meetings in the past couple of months where it's me and one person. You know, so we don't get a whole lot accomplished. So what I'd like to propose, and this was recommended by some of the members of the committees, is that if we could set aside Tuesdays, we already know the first Tuesday of the month is a board meeting night. We already have successfully scheduled finance committee meetings for the 5:30 block before the board meetings. So the proposal was we back the other two meetings up before those meetings. So the proposal was 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we would have policy committee. That means that some people may have to leave work early if they're working, but it would be, it's not in the middle of the morning, so they wouldn't have to leave and then come back, you know, that sort of thing. So 3 to 4 would be policy committee, building and grounds would be 4 to 5. We'd have a break between 5 and 5:30, so Heidi and I can get dinner and get ready for the finance committee meeting and the board meeting that night. So, you know, that would, if that would work with the people that are on those committees, I just need some feedback so that we can start scheduling this. And if we can do that, then I would propose that we skip next Thursday's meetings and begin this next Tuesday, the Tuesday of the next board meeting. So it would, you know, everything would be pushed back to that evening. So the people that are on the policy committee, 3 to 4 work for those people?
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Works for me.
The
So
Tuesdays of the board.
Whose policy with you?
Well,
Does that work?
this past one notwithstanding where I completely just spaced it, didn't show up. When I'm at work, I'm either at work all day or I'm not at work. So it doesn't really matter. to me.
But that time would be okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's,
And,
technically, it's not ideal, but I can certainly make it work if that's the way it's.
and then Terry, that's you too.
3 to 4 policy,
Mhm.
4
4 to 5 building and grounds.
building and grounds.
And that way, people have a break before we have finance, and many of you are on the finance committee meeting, so you can go get dinner and then come back to the board meeting. So it messes up one day a month as opposed to 2. You know, one day is committed to Prospect Mountain High School committee and board business.
So if you can just try to block out the first Tuesday of every month.
Yep, the
Get it
afternoon,
over.
first Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, building and grounds work for you, Steve?
Okay, that means I got 3 meetings in a row,
Yep.
okay? Yeah, as long as the last one doesn't go to 9:30.
Well, we'll do what we can.
I'm working hard at this.
I thank you. But can we at least start it in a couple of weeks, because I already am booked up, you know, with other things.
It would be for a
It
month.
wouldn't be until next month.
Next month?
We would start this next,
Then I
we
can
would
do
start
that.
this next, the first board meeting next month.
Yeah,
So the meeting that we typically would have the Thursday after this board meeting is
Yep.
canceled.
I
And
think-
that's been postponed until the Tuesday.
I believe that's November 1st. Next.
I believe it is. Let me
Yeah,
just check.
yeah,
So that's the first Tuesday of the month.
yeah.
Should be the first of November.
So we'll send out notifications. It'll start November 1st when our next board meeting is. So thank you for that. I think we'll give that a shot. I mean, we used to hold them at night. That didn't work for people. We'll do it during the day. That hasn't seemed to work as well. Diane, but does that work for you? That didn't.
I'll make it.
Okay, next up is disposal of vision testing equipment.
Okay, the nurse came to me a couple of weeks ago and asked about what the process is of, one, getting rid of old and purchasing new. We have a vision testing machine that she described as being so old she's not sure how old it actually is. She's attempted to use it and it's sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Meaning it literally will sometimes turn on and do what it's supposed to and sometimes does
Wouldn't
not.
it be only 11 years old?
Yeah, that's what I would think.
I
It
don't
should
know.
only be 11
I
years
don't know
old.
if it's
You would've
something we,
bought it brand new.
I don't know if we bought it here. It was before
Well,
my
because the
time.
elementary schools kept what they had.
Yeah, I'm not sure. When I
Is every child tested every year?
No, and this is what differs from elementary school. We use it when there's a need to. I should say, we give preliminary tests when there's a need to. So what Nurse Fubar has been doing is that any kids that are coming in with vision issue, she's relying on you stand a certain distance away, you look at the letters, and there's, I don't know what they call it, but she's been using that. And if a student isn't scoring where they're supposed to be, she then makes the recommendation to mom and dad that perhaps you need to go see your PCP or make an eye doctor's appointment.
So how does she decide that they need that? They have a headache?
There are a number of ways, and
Because
it
usually
doesn't.
vision changes so slowly that the child isn't aware that that's what the issue is.
Yeah, we have traditionally here used the machine and used whatever other mechanisms Nurse McCusker used. More often than not, when a student came to us who need to be tested as part of the evaluation process with special ed,
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
that's primarily the only time that we really ever have given the vision test.
Yeah, because in high school, they don't routinely do checks like in grammar school. They do,
Right.
you know, third grade, fifth grade,
Right,
seventh grade.
we do not do
newbies.
that,
So you don't do that here.
no.
So, but they need it for like special ed and stuff.
Yeah.
So is she gonna purchase something new?
We didn't talk about that. At this point, she feels, with the amount of that she's done, she feels perfectly content using the chart. There you go.
And that's fine.
Tough word.
You know,
The eye thing.
just puts the stuff 20 feet or 40 feet away, but magnetizes
Right.
it. So it's no different if you have the room and you have the card, I think it's 10 feet away or 20 feet away.
20.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
I mean,
So the issue, I mean, again, I don't know when it was purchased. I know the name of it. I have the picture right here. I took a picture of the manual. I can tell you what it is, and perhaps one of the two nurses in the room. A vision screening with the VS-2.
Is it an e-chart?
Keystone View.
Wow, as long as we offer it to somebody else, don't just throw it in the dump. Somebody,
Well, I think the
Maybe
bigger
it'll
issue
use
is that I don't know if it works the way it's supposed to.
maybe the bulbs,
Right.
all it has inside is a
a
bulb.
bulb.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that they
And you
will
flip
last
it eye to
forever.
eye.
The bulb lights up the letters inside.
I'll ask Andy to take a look at it, or Glenn, to see if it's fixable, and if it's fixable, then I'll put it in a closet, I suppose, or,
Offer it to another school
Offer
district
it.
that might, you
all
know,
right.
Yeah,
need.
yeah. So do you need do we need to vote on that? Or just follow the disposable?
Yeah, I'll
The
follow the
usual.
procedure. The other thing on this topic that I want to ask is that this Friday, we have a teacher's workshop day, and in the morning time, we're spending a couple of hours doing a school-wide inventory of all our furniture and equipment. In that process, I've been speaking with staff members about this already. We have some areas in the building that they're just filled with inactive things or broken pieces of equipment that just haven't been disposed of over the years for whatever reason.
Don't tell me it's the science labs.
It's not the science labs. No. So I'm in a little bit of a predicament here, and I guess I'm looking for your recommendation on this one. As we go through, like, I'll give you a classic example. I was in a closet today, and there were 25 VHS tapes that had like the discoloration, yellow discoloration, some of them which were brought over from Alton Central that precede the 2004 and 5 opening. So
what's on these?
these in particular were family consumer science related videos.
They
That
haven't
I'm
been used
sure.
in 11 years.
I don't know. I don't know
Is
when
there
it's
even
been
a
used.
VHS?
Yeah, well, there is another issue. But
How would you look at them?
nonetheless, stay focused here. So I guess what I'm looking for is a little bit of guidance here in how you want me to handle this, because one thing that I can do is I can take these textbooks and these VHS tapes and these binders of things that I can't decipher, and I can itemize that out to bring it to you to say, here's what I'd like to get rid of. Or you can trust Andy and I to say, we can get rid of this stuff without
I think we
having to go to the
should
board.
trust you. I know that in Alton, we had like a trailer truck thing full of broken furniture that it was ridiculous to have all of that. So I think we should let you use your brain and all the money that we paid you for.
If it's
To
something
figure out
used,
what to get
if
rid
it's
of.
something somebody can use, it's probably not a
Right.
good
We'll
idea.
use
Give
the
it to
process, we'll
Yeah.
give it to another school.
They do the donate
we-
pile, the throwaway
Yeah,
pile.
put it on a table if somebody wants it.
Well, that's one of the things we were saying, is that we could probably fund something by having a tag sale of just junk
Yeah,
within the
yeah.
building.
Just
With-
don't
with
throw
the-
away any of the documentation for this building.
No. I'm talking stuff that is strictly, you know, again, I'll default to the family consumer science room. There are things in there that,
Don't tell me there's food.
I won't say there's food, but there's food in there that has an expiration date of before today. So,
Well,
I thought you were gonna say.
Get rid of it.
yeah. And the difficult part in that it's, there's just a lot of stuff. You know, so if a can of soup was purchased with the best intentions to use and just never was, and it was put on a shelf that is way up high that teachers forget about. I mean, we've all done it in our own house.
Anything that's expired should be disposed of.
I agree.
Now,
I
so-
agree. Whether it's
my
broken.
opinion that we let him and Andy decide what needs to go and follow the policy for how they
Right.
get rid of things. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Any
Everybody-
historical things should be thought about also.
Oh, yes.
We have found that out at Alton, Fremantle High School.
Anything
There are
historical,
historical
don't
things,
throw it out.
banners.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So that's okay with everybody? We'll let him do his thing. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, where are we now?
Personnel.
Personnel. Okay.
We received a family medical leave notice. It's in your packet. Request approval. From the board, we approved it because it's the law that we do. But
All right, I make a motion that we approve this. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? With great sadness. Yes.
And then we have two resignations, a paraprofessional, John Withersbaugh, and we have someone from kitchen who is resigning, Kathleen McLaughlin.
Make a motion, we approve the resignations of John Withersbaugh and Kathleen McLaughlin.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, public input? Seeing none, we'll close public input. And we do need a non-public under,
I make a motion to go into non-public under 91-87, Roman numeral 2C.
is there a second?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. go ahead.
That's right, that which discussed in public would likely affect the person in the
Seconded by Diane. All those, we need to go around.
Yes.
Peter? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
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 We're in non-public.
Good night.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Nice report.